Old John of Gaunt, time-honoured Lancaster, hast thou, according to thy oath and bond, brought hither Henry Hereford, thy bold son, here to make good the boisterous late appeal, which then our leisure would not let us hear against the Duke of Norfolk, Thomas Mowbray?
I have, my liege.
Then call them to our presence. Yeah, I've got to go. Okay, bye.
Many years happy. Days before my gracious sovereign, my most loving liege.
Each day still better others' happiness.
We thank you both, yet one but flatters us. Cousin of Hereford, what dost thou object against the Duke of Norfolk, Thomas Mowbray?
In devotion of a subject's love, come I appellant to this princely presence. Now, Thomas Mowbray, do I turn to thee? Thou art traitor and miscreant, with a foul traitor's name, stuff thy throat, and wish, so please my sovereign, ere I move, what my tongue speaks my right drawn sword may prove.
The blood is hot that must be cooled for this. I do defy him, and I spit at him, call him a slanderous coward and a villain. Meantime, let this defend my loyalty. By all my hopes, most falsely doth he lie.
Pale trembling coward, there do I throw my gage.
I take it up, and by that sword I swear I'll answer thee in any fair degree.
What doth our cousin lay to Mowbray's charge? It must be great that can inherit us so much as a thought of ill in him.
That all the treasons for these 18 years complotted and contrived in this land, fetch from false Mowbray their first head in spring. Further, I say, and further will maintain that he did plot the Duke of Gloucester's death, suggest his soon-believing adversaries, and consequently, like a traitor coward, sluiced out his innocent soul through streams of blood.
Thomas Mowbray, what sayest thou to this?
Now, Bolingbroke, as low as to thy heart, through the false passage of thy throat thou liest, and interchangeably hurl down my gage upon this overweening traitor's foot. In haste whereof most heartily I pray your highness to assign our trial day.
Wrath-kindled gentlemen, be ruled by me. Let's purge this collar without letting blood. Forget, forgive, conclude and be agreed. Our doctors say this is no month to bleed. Good uncle, let this end where it begun. We'll calm the Duke of Norfolk, you your son.
To be a makepeace shall become my age. Throw down, my son, the Duke of Norfolk's gage.
And Norfolk, throw down his.
When, Harry, when? Obedience bids, I should not bid again.
Norfolk, throw down, we bid, there is no boot.
Myself I throw, dread sovereign, at thy foot.
A rage must be withstood. Give me his gage. Lions make leopards tame.
Yea, but not change his spot. My dear lord, the purest treasure mortal times afford is spotless reputation. That away, men are but gilded loam and painted clay. Dear my liege, mine honour let me try. In that I live, and for that will I die.
Cousin, throw up your gage. Do you begin?
Oh God, defend my soul from such deep sin. Shall I seem crestfallen in my father's sight? Or with pale beggared fear impeach my height?
We were not born to sue, but to command. Which since we cannot do, to make you friends, be ready, as your lives shall answer it, at Coventry upon St. Lambert's Day. There shall your swords and lances arbitrate the swelling difference of your settled hate. Lord Marshal, command our officers at arms, be ready to direct those home alarms.
Alas, the part I had in Gloucester's blood doth more solicit me than your exclaims to stir against the butchers of his life. But since correction lieth in those hands which made the fault that we cannot correct, put we our quarrel to the will of heaven, who when they see the hours ripe on earth, will rain hot vengeance on offenders' heads.
Finds brotherhood in thee no sharper spur? Hath love in thy old blood no living fire? Edward's 7 sons, whereof thyself art one, were as 7 vials of his sacred blood. Some of those 7 are dried by nature's course, but Thomas, my dear lord, my life, my Gloucester, 1 vial full of Edward's sacred blood is cracked, and all the precious liquor spilt is hacked down, and his summer leaves all faded by envy's hand and murder's bloody axe. Ah, Gaunt! His blood was thine, that bed, that womb, that metal, that self-mold that fashioned thee, made him a man. And though thou livest and breathest, yet art thou slain in him. Thou dost consent in some large measure to thy father's death, and in that thou seest thy wretched brother die, who was the model of thy father's life. Call it not patience, Gaunt, it's despair, in suffering thus thy brother to be slaughtered. Thou showest the naked pathway to thy life, teaching stern murder how to butcher thee. That which in mean men we entitle patience is pale, cold cowardice in noble breasts. What shall I say to safeguard thine own life? The best way is to venge my Gloucester's death.
Heavens is the quarrel.
Oh.
For heaven's substitute, his deputy anointed in his sight, hath caused his death, the which, if wrongfully, let heaven revenge. For I may never lift an angry arm against his minister.
Where then, alas, may I complaint myself?
To heaven, the widow's champion to defense.
Oh, why, then I will. Farewell, old Gaunt. Thou goest to Coventry, there to behold our cousin Hereford and fell Mowbray fight. Oh, sit my husband's wrongs on Hereford's spear, that it may enter butcher Mowbray's breast. Farewell, old Gaunt. Thy sometimes brother's wife, with her companion grief, must end her life.
Sister, farewell. I must to Coventry. As much good stay with thee as go with me.
Yet, one word more. Grief boundeth where it falls, not with the empty hollowness, but weight. I take my leave before I have begun, for sorrow ends not when it seemeth done. Commend me to my brother Edmund York. Lo, this is all. Nay, yet depart not so. Though this be all, do not so quickly go. I shall remember more. Bid him, oh, what? With all good speed at Plashy visit me. Alack, and what shall good old York there see? But empty lodgings and unfurnished walls, unpeopled offices, untrodden stones, and what here therefore welcome but my groans? Therefore commend him, let him not come there to seek out sorrow that dwells everywhere. Desolate, desolate will I hence and die. The last leave of thee takes my weeping eye.
My lord AUMERLE is Hereford armed.
Yea, at all points, and longs to enter in.
The Duke of Norfolk, spritefully and bold, stays but the summons of the appellant's trumpet.
Why then, the champions are prepared and stay for nothing but his majesty's approach.
Marshal, demand of yonder champions the cause of his arrival here in arms, ask him his name, and orderly proceed to swear him in the justice of his cause.
In God's name and the king's, say who thou art and why thou comest, thus knightly clad in arms. Against what man thou comest, and what's thy quarrel? Speak truly on thy knighthood and thine oath, as so defend thee heaven and thy valor.
My name is Thomas Mowbray, Duke of Norfolk, who hither comes engaged by my oath both to defend my loyalty and truth to God, my king, and his succeeding issue against the Duke of Hereford that appeals me, and by the grace of God and this mine arm, to prove in defending of myself a traitor to my God, my king, and me, and as I truly fight, defend me heaven.
What is thy name? And wherefore comest thou hither before King Richard and his royal lists? Against who comest thou, and what's thy quarrel? Speak like a true knight, so defend thee heaven.
Harry of Hereford, Lancaster and Derby am I, who ready here to stand in arms to prove by heaven's grace and my body's valor on list, on Thomas Mowbray, Duke of Norfolk. that he's a traitor, foul and dangerous to God in heaven, King Richard, and to me. And as I truly fight, defend me heaven.
On pain of death, no person be so bold or daring hardy as to touch the lists, except the marshal and such officers appointed to direct these fair designs.
Lord Marshal, let me kiss my sovereign's hand and bow my knee before his majesty. For Mowbray and myself are like two men that vow a long and weary pilgrimage. Then let us take a ceremonious leave and loving farewell of our several friends.
The appellant in all duty greets your highness and craves to kiss your hand and take his leave.
We will descend, fold him in our arms. Cousin of Hereford, as thy cause is just, so be thy fortune in this royal fight. Farewell, my blood, which if today thou shed, lament we may, but not revenge thee dead.
Oh, let no noble eye profane a tear for me. If I be gored with Mowbray's spear, O thou, the earthly author of my blood, whose youthful spirit in my regenerate, doth with twofold vigor lift me up, to reach at victory above my head. Add proof unto mine armor with thy prayers, that it may enter Mowbray's waxen coat, and furbish a new name of John a Gaunt, even in the lusty behavior of his son.
God in thy good cause make thee prosperous. Rouse up thy youthful blood. Be valiant and live.
My innocency and St. George to thrive.
However heaven or fortune cast my lot, there lives or dies true to King Richard's throne, a loyal, just, and upright gentleman. Most mighty liege, and my companion peers, take from my mouth the wish of happy years. As gentle and as jocund as to jest go I to fight. Truth hath a quiet breast.
Farewell, my lord. Securely I espy virtue with valour couched in thine eye. Order the trial, Marshal, and begin.
Harry of Hereford, Lancaster, and Derby, receive thy lance, and God defend the right.
Strong as a tower in hope, I cry, Amen.
Harry of Hereford, Lancaster, and Derby stand here for God, his sovereign and himself, on pain to be found false and recreant, to prove the Duke of Norfolk, Thomas Mowbray, a traitor to his God, his king, and him, and dares him to set forwards to the fight. Here standeth, though, Mowbray, Duke of Norfolk, on pain to be found false and recreant, both to defend himself and to approve Henry of Hereford, Lancaster, and Derby. God, his sovereign, and to him disloyal, courageously and with a free desire, attending but the signal to begin.
Sound trumpets and set forward, combatants. Stay! The king hath thrown his warder down.
Draw near, and list what with our counsel we have done. For that our kingdom's earth should not be soiled with that dear blood which it hath fostered, therefore we banish you our territories. You, cousin Hereford, upon pain of life, till twice 5 summers have enriched our fields, shall not regret our fair dominions, but tread the stranger paths of banishment.
Your will be done. This must my comfort be. Sun that warms you, here shall shine on me.
Norfolk, for thee remains a heavier doom, a hopeless word of never to return. Breathe I against thee upon pain of life.
A heavy sentence, my most sovereign liege, and all unlooked for from your highness' mouth. My native English now I must forego.
It boots thee not to be compassionate.
And thus I turn me from my country's light, to dwell in solemn shades of endless night.
Return again, and take an oath with thee. You never shall, so help you truth and God, embrace another's love in banishment, nor never look upon each other's face to plot, contrive, or complot any ill against us, our state, our subjects, or our land.
I swear.
And I to keep all this.
Confess thy treasons, ere thou fly the realm, since thou hast far to go. Bear not along the clogging burden of a guilty soul.
No Bolingbroke. If ever I were traitor, my name be blotted from the book of life, and I from heaven banished as from hence. But what thou art, God, thou, and I do know, and all too soon I fear the king shall rue. Farewell, my liege.
Uncle? Oh, even in the glasses of thine eye I see thy grieved heart. Thy sad aspect have from the number of his banished years plucked 4 away. 6 frozen winters spent, return with welcome home from banishment.
How long a time lies in one little word? 4 lagging winters and 4 wanton springs. And in a word, such is the breath of kings.
I thank my liege that in regard of me he shortens 4 years of my son's exile. But little vantage shall I reap thereby. For ere the 6 years that he hath to spend, my inch of taper will be burnt and done, and blindfold death not let me see my son.
Why, uncle, thou hast many years to live.
But not a minute, king, that thou canst give. Shorten my days thou canst with sullen sorrow, and pluck nights from me, but not lend a morrow. Thy word is current with him for my death. But dead, thy kingdom cannot buy my breath.
Thy son is banished upon good advice. Whereto thy tongue a party verdict gave, why at our justice seemest thou then to lower?
Things sweet to taste prove in digestion sour. You urged me as a judge, but I had rather you would have bid me argue like a father. A partial slander sought I to avoid, and in the sentence my own life destroyed.
Cousin, farewell, and uncle, bid him so. 6 years we banish him, and he shall go.
Cousin, farewell. What presents must not know, from where you do remain let paper show?
I have too few to take leave of you.
Thy grief is but thy absence for a time.
Joy absent, grief is present for that time.
What is 6 winters? They're quickly gone.
To men enjoy, but grief makes 1 hour 10.
Call it a travel that thou takest for pleasure.
My heart will sigh when I miscall it so.
All places that the eye of heaven visits are to a wise man ports and happy havens. Teach thy necessity to reason thus. Go, say I sent thee forth to purchase honor, and not the king exiled thee. Look, what thy soul holds dear, imagine it to lie that way thou goest, not whence thou comest. For gnarling sorrow hath less power to bite the man that mocks at it and sets it light. Come, come, my son, I'll bring thee on thy way. Had I thy youth and cause, I would not stay.
Then England's ground farewell, O sweet soil, adieu. My mother and my nurse that bears me yet. Where I wander, boast of this I can, though banished, yet a true-born Englishman.
He is our cousin, but 'tis doubt when time shall call him home from banishment whether our kinsman came to see his friends. I've observed his courtship to the common people, how he did seem to dive into their hearts with humble and familiar courtesy, with thanks, my countrymen, my loving friends, as were our England in reversion his, and he our subjects' next degree in hope.
Well, he is gone, and with him go these thoughts. Now, for the rebels which stand out in Ireland, expedient manage must be made, my liege, ere further leisure yield them further means for their advantage and your highness' loss.
We will ourselves in person to this war, and for our coffers with too great a court and liberal largesse are grown somewhat light, we are enforced to farm our royal realm. How now, what news?
Old John of Gaunt is grievous sick, my lord, suddenly taken, and hath sent post-haste to entreat your majesty to visit him.
Where lies he?
At Ely House.
Now put it, God, in the physician's mind to help him to his grave immediately. The lining of his coffers shall make our coats to deck our soldiers for these Irish wars. Come, gentlemen, let's all go visit him. Pray God we may make haste and come too late.
Will the king come that I may breathe my last and wholesome counsel to his unstayed youth?
Vex not yourself, nor strive not with your breath, for all in vain comes counsel to his ear.
Oh, but they say the tongues of dying men enforce attention like deep harmony. Though Richard my life's counsel would not hear, my death's sad tale might yet undeaf his ear.
No, it is stopped with other flattering sounds, as praises of whose taste the wise are fond, lascivious meters to whose venom sound the open ear of youth doth always listen. Direct not him whose way himself will choose. 'Tis breath thou lack'st, and that breath wilt thou lose.
Methinks I am a prophet new inspired, and thus expiring do foretell of him. His rash, fierce blaze of riot cannot last, for violent fires soon burn out themselves. Small showers last long, but sudden storms are short. With eager feeding, food doth choke the feeder. Consuming means soon preys upon itself. This royal throne of kings, this sceptred isle, this earth of majesty, this seat of Mars, this other Eden, demi-paradise, this fortress built by nature for herself against infection in the hand of war, this happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in a silver sea, which serves it in the office of a wall, or as a moat defensive to a house against the envy of less happier lands. This blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England, this nurse, this teeming womb of royal kings, feared by their breed and famous by their birth, renowned for their deeds as far from home for Christian service and true chivalry as is the sepulchre and stubborn Jewry of the world's ransom, Blessed Mary's Son. This land of such dear souls, this dear, dear land, dear for her reputation through the world, is now leased out. I die pronouncing it, like to a tenement or pelting farm. England, bound in with the triumphant sea, whose rocky shore beats back the envious siege of watery Neptune, is now bound in with shame, with inky blots and rotten parchment bonds. That England that was wont to conquer others hath made such a shameful conquest of itself. Ah, would the scandal vanish with my life. How happy then were my ensuing death.
The king is come. Deal mildly with his youth, for young hot colts being raged do rage the more.
How fares our noble uncle Lancaster?
What comfort, man? How is't with aged Gaunt?
Oh, how that name befits my composition. The pleasure that some fathers feed upon is my strict fast. I mean my children's looks, and therein fasting hast thou made me gaunt. Gaunt am I for the grave, gaunt is the grave, whose hollow womb inherits naught but bones.
Can sick men play so nicely with their names?
No, misery makes sport to mock itself. Since thou dost seek to kill my name in me, I mock my name, great king, to flatter thee.
Should dying men flatter with those that live?
No, no, men living. Flatter those that die.
Now a dying, sayest thou flatterest me?
Oh, no. Thou diest, though I the sicker be.
I am in health. I breathe and see thee ill.
Oh, now he that made me knows I see thee ill. Thy deathbed is no lesser than thy land, wherein thou liest, in reputation sick. 1,000 flatterers sit within thy crown, whose compass is no bigger than thy head. Why, cousin, wert thou regent of the world, it were a shame to let this land by lease. Landlord of England art thou now, not king, Thy state of law is bond-slave to the law, and thou...
Lunatic, lean-witted fool! Presuming on an ague's privilege, darest with thy frozen admonition make pale our cheek, chasing the royal blood with fury from his native residence. Now by my seat's right royal majesty, wert thou not brother to great Edward's son, this tongue that runs so roundly in thy head should run thy head from thy unreverent shoulders.
That blood already like the pelican hath thou chapped out, and drunkenly caroused. My brother Gloucester, plain, well-meaning soul, who fair befall in heaven amongst happy souls, may be a precedent to witness good that thou respects not spilling Edward's blood. Live in thy shame, but die not shame with thee. These words hereafter thy tormentors be. Convey me to my bed, then to my grave. Love they to live, that love and honour have.
And let them die that age and sullens have, for both hast thou, and both become the grave.
You beseech your majesty, impute his words to wayward sickness and age in him. He loves you on my life, and holds you dear, as Harry, Duke of Hereford, were he here.
Right, you say true, as Hereford's love. So his, as theirs, so mine, and all be as it is.
My liege, old Gaunt commends him to your majesty.
And what says he?
Nay, nothing, all is said. His tongue is now a stringless instrument, words, life, and all old Lancaster hath spent.
York, the next that must be bankrupt so. The death be poor, it ends a mortal woe.
The ripest fruit first falls, and so doth he. His time is spent, our pilgrimage must be, so much for that. Now for our Irish wars, and for these great affairs do ask some charge towards our assistance. We do seize to us the plate, corn, revenues, and movables whereof our uncle Gaunt did stand possessed.
How long shall I be patient? Ah, how long? I am the last of noble Edward's sons, of whom thy father, Prince of Wales, was first. His face thou hast, for even so looked he, accomplished with the number of thy hours. But when he frowned, it was against the French, and not against his friends. Oh, Richard, York is too far gone with grief, or else he never would compare between.
Why, uncle, what's the matter?
Oh, my liege, pardon me, if you please. If not, I pleased not to be pardoned. I am content with all. Seek you to seize and gripe into your hands the royalties and rights of banished Hereford? If you do wrongfully seize Hereford's rights, you pluck 1,000 dangers on your head.
Think what you will. We seize into our hands his plate, his goods, his money, and his lands.
I'll not be by the while, my liege. Farewell. What will ensue hereof, there's none can tell.
Tomorrow next we will for Ireland, and 'tis time, I trow, and we create in absence of ourself our uncle York, Lord Governor of England, for he is just and always loved us well. Come on, my queen. Tomorrow must we part. Be merry, for our time of stay is short.
Well, lords, the Duke of Lancaster is dead.
Living too, but now his son is Duke. My heart is great, but it must break with silence, ere it be disturbed with a liberal tongue.
Nay, nay, speak thy mind, and let him ne'er speak more that speaks thy words again to do thee harm. Tends that thou wouldst speak to the Duke of Hereford. If it be so, out with it boldly, man.
The king is not himself, but basely led by flatterers, and what they will inform merely in hate gainst any of us all.
The commons hath he pilled with grievous taxes, and quite lost their arts. The nobles hath he fined for ancient quarrels, and quite lost their arts.
And daily new exactions are devised.
Wars have not wasted it, for ward he hath not, but basely yielded upon compromise that which his noble ancestors achieved with blows. More hath he spent in peace than they in wars.
The king's grown bankrupt. like a broken man.
Reproach and disillusion hangeth over him.
He hath not the money for these Irish wars, his birth and his taxations notwithstanding, but by the robbing of the banished duke.
His noble kinsman, most degenerate king. But lords, we hear this fearful tempest sing, yet seek no shelter to avoid the storm. Even through the hollow eyes of death, I spy life peering.
Be confident to speak, Northumberland. We three are but thyself, and speaking so, thy words are but as thoughts, for bold.
And thus, I have received intelligence that Harry, Duke of Hereford, with 8 tall ships, 3,000 men of war, is making hither with all due expedience, and shortly mean to touch our northern shore. If then we shall shake off our slavish yoke, redeem from broking upon the blemished crown, and make him high majesty look like itself. Away with me in post to Ravensburg.
To horse, urge doubts to them that fear.
Hold out my horse, and I will first be there.
Madam, your majesty is too much sad. You promised, when you parted with the king, to lay aside life-harming heaviness and entertain a cheerful disposition.
Please the king, I did. To please myself, I cannot do it. Yet I know no cause why I should welcome such a guest as grief, save bidding farewell to so sweet a guest as my sweet Richard. Yet again, methinks some unborn sorrow ripe in fortune's womb is coming towards me.
Each substance of a grief hath 20 shadows, which shows like grief itself, but it is not so.
It may be so. But yet my inward soul persuades me it is otherwise. However it be, I cannot but be sad. So heavy sad, but what it is that is not yet known, what I cannot name, 'tis nameless woe. And what?
God save your majesty, and well met, gentlemen. I hope the king is not yet shipped for Ireland.
Why hopest thou so? 'Tis better hope he is, for his designs crave haste, his haste good hope. Then wherefore dost thou hope he is not shipped?
The banished Henry of Hereford repeals himself, and with uplifted arms is safe arrived at Ravenspur.
Now God in heaven forbid.
Aye, madam, it's too true. And that is worse. The Lord Northumberland, his son, young Henry Percy, the lords of Ross, Beaumont, and Willoughby, with all their powerful friends, are fled to him.
Why have you not proclaimed Northumberland and all the rest revolted faction?
No, we have! Whereupon the Earl of Worcester hath broke his staff, resigned his stewardship, and all the household servants have fled with him to Bolingbroke. Here comes the Duke of York.
Oh, with signs of war about his aged neck. Oh, full of careful business are his looks. Uncle, for God's sake, speak comfortable words.
Should I do so, I should belie my thoughts. Comfort's in heaven, and we are on the earth.
My lord, your son was gone before I came.
He was. Why so? Go all which way it will. The nobles, they are fled. The commons, they are cold. And will, I fear, revolt on Hereford's side. Sirrah, get thee to Plashy, to my sister Gloucester.
My lord, I had forgot to tell your lordship. Today, as I came by, I called there. An hour before I came, the Duchess died.
God for his mercy. What a tide of woes comes rushing on this woeful land at once. I know not what to do. I would to God, so my untruth had not provoked him to it, the king had cut off my head with my brothers. Gentlemen, will you muster men, if I know how or which way to order these affairs that thus thrust disorderly into my hands? Never believe me. Both are my kinsmen. Well, somewhat we must do. Come, cousin, I'll dispose of you. Gentlemen, go. Muster up your men and meet me presently at Berkeley.
The wind sits fair for news to go to Ireland, but none returns. For us to levy power proportionable to the enemy, it's all possible.
Well, I will go for refuge straight to Bristol Castle. The Earl of Wiltshire is already there.
Thither will I with you. For a little office the hateful commons will perform for us, except like curs to tear us all to pieces. Will you go along with us?
No. I will to Ireland to his majesty. Farewell. If heart's presages be not in vain, we three here are that no ne'er shall meet again.
Ah, that's as York thrives to beat back Bolingbroke.
Alas, poor Duke. The task he undertakes is numbering sands and drinking oceans dry. Farewell at once. For all, and ever.
Well, we may meet again at HEREFORD.
Ah, I fear me never.
How far is it, my lord, to Berkeley now?
Believe me, noble lord, I am a stranger here in Gloucestershire. These high, wild hills and rough, uneven ways draws out our miles and makes them wearisome. But I bethink me what a weary way from Ravensburg to Cotswold will be found in Ross and Willoughby, wanting your company, but theirs is sweetened with the hope to have the present benefit which I possess, your noble company.
Of much less value is my company than your good words. But who comes here?
Ah, it is my son, young Harry Percy, sent from my brother Worcester whensoever. Harry, how fares your uncle?
I had thought, my lord, to have learned his health of you.
Why, is he not with the queen?
No, my good lord, he hath forsook the court, broken his staff of office, and dispersed the household of the king.
What was his reason? He was not so resolved when last we spake together.
Because your lordship was proclaimed traitor. But he, my lord, is gone to Ravensburg to offer service to the Duke of Hereford, and sent me over by Berkeley to discover what power the Duke of York had levied there, then with directions to repair to Ravensburg.
Have you forgot the Duke of Hereford, boy?
No, my good lord, for that is not forgot, which I ne'er I did remember. To my knowledge, I never in my life did look on him.
Then learn to know him now. This is the Duke.
My gracious lord, I tender you my service. Such as it is, being tender, raw, and young, which elder days shall ripen and confirm to more approved service and desert.
I thank thee, gentle Percy, and be sure, I count myself in nothing else so happy as in a soul remembering my good friends.
How far is it to Berkeley? And what stir keeps good old York there with his men of war?
There stands the castle by yon tuft of trees, manned with 300 men, as I have heard.
Oh, here comes the lords of Ross and Willoughby, bloody with spurring, fiery red with haste.
Welcome, my lords. What love pursues a banished traitor? All my treasury is yet but unfelt thanks, which more enriched shall be your love and labor's recompense.
Your presence makes us rich, most noble lord.
It is my lord of Berkeley, as I guess.
My lord of Hereford, my message is to you.
My lord, my answer is to Lancaster, and I am come to seek that name in England, and I must find that title in your tongue before I make reply to aught you say.
Mistake me not, my lord. 'Tis not my meaning to raise one title of your honor out. To you, my lord, I come, what lord you will, from the most glorious of this land, the Duke of York, to know what pricks you on to take advantage of the absent time and fright our native peace with self-born arms.
I shall not need transport. My words by you. Here comes his grace in person, my noble uncle.
Show me thine humble heart and not thy knee, whose duty is deceivable and false.
My gracious uncle.
Tut, tut! Grace me no grace, nor uncle me no uncle. I am no traitor's uncle, and that word grace in an ungracious mouth is but profane. Why have those banished and forbidden legs dared once to touch a dust of England's ground?
My gracious uncle, let me know my fault, of what condition stands it, and wherein.
Even in condition of the worst degree, in gross rebellion and detested treason. Thou art a banished man, and here art come before the expiration of thy time.
As I was banished Hereford. But as I come Lancaster. And, noble uncle, I beseech your grace, look on my wrongs with an indifferent eye. You are my father, for methinks in you I see old Gaunt alive. And oh, then, my father, will you permit that I shall stand condemned, a wandering vagabond, my rights and royalties plucked from my arms perforce and given away to upstart upthrifts? Wherefore was I born?
The noble Duke hath been too much abused.
Stands your grace upon him to do him right.
Well, well, I see the issue of these arms. I cannot mend it, I must needs confess, because my power is weak and all ill left. But if I could, by him that gave me life, I would attach you all and make you stoop unto the sovereign mercy of the king. But since I cannot, be it known to you, I do remain as neuter. So fare you well, unless you please to enter in the castle and there repose you for this night.
An offer, uncle, that we will accept. But we must win your grace to go with us to Bristol Castle, which they say is held by Bushy, Bagot, and their complices, the caterpillars of the Commonwealth, which I have sworn to weed and pluck away.
It may be I will go with you, but yet I'll pause, for I am loath to break our country's laws.
My lord of Salisbury, we have stayed 10 days and hardly kept our countrymen together, and yet we hear no tidings from the king. Therefore we will disperse ourselves. Farewell.
Stay yet another day, thou trusty Welshman. The king reposeth all his confidence in thee.
That 'tis thought the king is dead. We will not stay. The bay trees in our country are all withered, and meteors fright the fixed stars of heaven. The pale-faced moon looks bloody on the earth, and lean-looked prophets whisper fearful change. Rich men look sad, and ruffians dance and leap, the one in fear to lose what they enjoy, the other to enjoy by rage and war. These signs forerun the death or fall of kings. Farewell. Our countrymen are gone and fled, as well assured, Richard their king is dead.
Ah, Richard, with the eyes of heavy mind, I see thy glory, like a shooting star, fall to the base earth from the firmament. Thy sun sits weeping in the lowly west, witnessing storms to come, woe and unrest. Thy friends are fled to wait upon thy foes, and crossly to thy good all fortune goes.
Bring forth these men, bushy and green. I will not vex your souls, since presently your souls must part your bodies. Yet to wash your blood from off my hands here in the view of men, I will unfold some of the causes of your deaths. You have misheld, you have misled a prince. A royal king, myself, prince by fortunes of my birth, near to the king in blood, and near in love, till you did make him misinterpret me, have stooped my neck under your injuries, and sighed my English breath in foreign clouds. This and much more, much, much more than twice all this condemns you to this death. See them delivered over to execution and the hand of death.
More welcome is the stroke of death to me than Bolingbroke to England. Lords, farewell.
My lord Northumberland, see them dispatched. Uncle, you say the queen is at your house. Tell her I send to her my kind commends.
A gentleman of mine I have dispatched with letters of your love to her at large.
Thank you, gentle uncle. Come, lords, away to fight with Glendower and his complices, a while to work and after holiday.
Arkleckley Castle, call they this at hand?
Yea, my lord, how brooks your grace the air after your late tossing on the breaking seas?
Needs must I like it well. I weep for joy to stand upon my kingdom once again. Dear earth, I do salute thee with my hand, though rebels wound thee with their horses' hooves. As a long-parted mother with her child plays fondly with her tears and smiles in meeting, so, weeping, smiling, greet I thee, my earth, and do thee favours with my royal hands. Feed not thy sovereign's foe, my gentle earth, nor with thy sweets comfort his ravenous sense, but let thy spiders that suck up thy venom and heavy-gated toads lie in their way, doing annoyance to the treacherous feet which with usurping steps do trample thee. Mock not my senseless conjuration, lords, this earth shall have a feeling, and these stones prove armed soldiers ere her native king shall falter under a foul rebellion's arms.
Oh, fear not, my lord. That power that made you king hath power to keep you king in spite of all. The means that heaven yields must be embraced and not neglected.
He means, my lord, that we are too remiss whilst Bolingbroke grows strong and great.
Discomfortable cousin! And knowest thou not that when the searching eye of heaven is hid, then thieves and robbers range abroad unseen, but when from under this terrestrial ball he fires the proud tops of the eastern pines, then murders, treasons, and detested sins stand bare and naked, trembling at themselves. So, when this thief, this traitor, Bolingbroke, shall see us rising in our throne, the East, his treasons will sit blushing in his face, not able to endure the sight of day, but self-affrighted, tremble at his sin. Not all the water in the rough rude sea can wash the balm off from an anointed king. Welcome, my lord. How far off lies your power?
One day too late, I fear me, noble lord, hath clouded all thy happy days on earth. Oh, call back yesterday, bid time return, and thou shalt have 12,000 fighting men. Today, unhappy day, too late, o'erthrows thy joys, friends, fortune, and thy state. For all the Welshmen, hearing thou wert dead, are gone to Bolingbroke, dispersed or fled.
Comfort, my liege, why looks your grace so pale?
But now the blood of 20,000 men did triumph in my face, and they are fled. And till so much blood thither come again, have I not reason to look pale and dead? All souls that will be safe fly from my side, for time hath set a blot upon my pride.
Comfort, my liege, remember who you are.
I had forgot myself. Am I not king? Awake, thy coward majesty, thou sleepest. Is not the king's name 20,000 names? Arm, my name. I know my uncle York hath power enough to serve our turn. But who comes here?
More health and happiness betide my liege than can my care-tuned tongue deliver him.
Yet mine ear is open and my heart prepared. The worst is worldly loss, thou canst unfold. Strives Bolingbroke to be as great as we? Revolt our subjects? That we cannot mend. They break their faith to God as well as us. Cry woe, destruction, ruin and decay. The worst is death, and death will have his day.
Glad am I that your highness is so armed to bear the tidings of calamity. So high above his limits swells the rage of Bolingbroke, covering your fearful land with hard, bright steel. Both young and old rebel, and all goes worse than I have power to tell.
Too well. Too well thou tell'st a tale so ill. Where is the Earl of Wiltshire? Where is Bagot? What's become of Bushy? Where is Green? I warrant they have made peace with Bolingbroke.
Peace have they made with him indeed, my lord.
Oh, villains! Vipers! Damned without redemption, 3 Judases, each one thrice worse than Judas. Would they make peace? Terrible hell make war upon their spotted souls for this offence.
Sweet love, I see, changing his property, turns to the sourest and most deadly hate. Again, uncurse their souls. Their peace is made with heads and not with hands. Those whom you curse have felt the worst of death's destroying wound and lie full low, graved in the hollow ground.
Is Bushy, Green, and the Earl of Wiltshire dead?
Aye, all of them at Bristol lost their heads.
Where is the Duke my father with his power?
No matter where. Of comfort no man speak. Let's talk of graves, of worms, of epitaphs. Make dust our paper, and with rainy eyes write sorrow on the bosom of the earth. Our lands, our lives, and all are Bolingbroke's, and nothing can we call our own but death. For God's sake, let's sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings. How some have been deposed, some slain in war, some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murdered. But within the hollow crown keeps death his court, and there the antic sits, scoffing his state and grinning at the pomp, allowing him a breath, a little scene to monarchize, be feared and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit. I live with bread like you, feel want, taste grief, need friends. Subjected thus, how can you say to me I am a king?
My lord, wise men ne'er sit and wail their woes, but presently prevent the ways to wail.
My father hath a power, inquire of him, and learn to make a body of a limb.
Thou chidest me well. Proud Bolingbroke, I come to change blows with thee for our day of doom. Say, Scroop, where lies our uncle with his power?
Your uncle York is joined with Bolingbroke, and all your northern castles yielded up, and all your southern gentlemen in arms upon his party.
I have said enough. Beshrew thee, cousin, which did lead me forth of that sweet way I was into despair. What say you now? What comfort have we now? By heaven, I'll hate him everlastingly that bids me be of comfort any more. Go to Flint Castle, let no man speak again to alter this, for counsel 'tis but vain.
My liege, one word?
He does me double wrong, that wounds me with the flatteries of his tongue. Discharge my followers, let them hence away, from Richard's night to Bolingbroke's fair day.
So, that by this intelligence we learn, the Welshmen are dispersed and Salisbury is gone to meet the king.
The news is very fair and good, my lord. Richard, not far from hence, hath hid his head.
It would beseem the Lord Northumberland to say, King Richard. Alack, the heavy day when such a sacred king should hide his head.
Oh, your grace mistakes. Only to be brief left I his title out.
The time hath been, would you have been so brief with him, he would have been so brief with you to shorten you, for taking so the head, your whole head's length.
Mistake not, uncle, further than you should.
Take not, good cousin, further than you should, lest you mistake the heavens or all our heads.
I know it, uncle, and oppose not myself against their will. But who comes here? Ah, welcome, Harry. What, will not this castle yield?
The castle royally is manned, my lord, against thy entrance.
Royally? Why, it contains no king.
Yes, my good lord, it doth contain a king. King Richard lies within the limits of yon lime and stone.
Noble lords. Go, to the rude ribs of this ancient castle, through brazen trumpets send the breath of parley into his ruined ears, and thus deliver. Henry Bolingbroke, on both his knees doth kiss King Richard's hand, and sends allegiance and true faith of heart to his most royal person. And hither come even at his feet to lay my arms in power, provided that my banishment repealed and the lands restored again to be freely granted. If not, I'll use the advantage of my power and lay the summer's dust with showers of blood, rained from the wounds of slaughtered Englishmen. March on, and mark King Richard how he looks. Ah, see, King Richard down himself doth appear, as doth the blushing discontented sun when he perceives the envious clouds are bent to dim his glory.
Yet looks he like a king.
We are amazed, and thus long have we stood to watch the fearful bending of thy knee, because we thought ourself thy lawful king. And if we be, how dare thy joints forget to pay their awful duty to our presence? If we be not, Show us the hand of God that hath dismissed us from our stewardship, for well we know no hand of blood and bone can grip the sacred handle of our sceptre, unless he do profane, steal, or usurp. Tell Bolingbroke, for yon methinks he stands, that every stride he makes upon my land is dangerous treason. He is come to open the purple testament of bleeding war, but ere the crown he looked for live in peace. 10,000 bloody crowns of mothers' sons shall ill become the flower of England's face.
The King of heaven forbid our Lord the King should so with civil and uncivil arms be rushed upon. Thrice, noble cousin, Harry Bolingbroke doth humbly kiss thy hand. His coming hither hath no further scope than for his lineal royalties, and to beg enfranchisement immediate on his knees, which on thy royal party granted once, his glittering arms he will commend to rust, his barbed steeds to stables, and his heart to faithful service of your majesty.
Northumberland, say thus, the king returns, his noble cousin is right welcome hither, and all the number of his fair demands shall be accomplished without contradictions. We do debase ourselves, cousin, do we not? To look so poorly and speak so fair. Shall we call Northumberland back and send defiance to the traitor, and so die?
No, good my lord, let's fight with gentle words, till time lends friends, and friends their helpful swords.
Oh God! That ere this tongue of mine that laid that sentence of dread punishment on yon proud man should take it off again with words of soothe.
Oh, Northumberland comes back from Bolingbroke.
What must the king do now? Must he submit? The king shall do it. Must he be deposed? The king shall be contented. Must he lose the name of king? Oh, God name, let it go. I'll give my jewels for a set of beads, my gorgeous palace for a hermitage, my gay apparel for an almsman's gown, and my large kingdom for a little grave. A little grave, an obscure grave. Or I'll be buried in the king's highway, some way of common trade where subjects' feet may hourly trample on their sovereign's head. For on my heart they tread now whilst I live, and buried once, why not upon my head? Oh, most mighty prince, my lord Northumberland, what says King Bolingbroke? Will his majesty give Richard leave to live till Richard die? You make a leg, and Bolingbroke says I.
My lord, in the base court he doth attend to speak with you. May it please you come down?
Down? Down I come. Base court where kings grow base, to come at traitors' calls and do them grace. In the base court. Come down. Down court, down king. The night owls shriek where mounting larks should sing.
What says his majesty?
Sorrow and grief of heart make him speak fondly like a frantic man, yet he is come.
Stand apart, and show fair duty to his majesty, my gracious lord.
Fair cousin, you debase your princely knee to make the base earth proud with kissing it. Me rather you had my heart might feel your love than my unpleased eye see your courtesy. Up, cousin, up! Your heart is up, I know, thus high, at least, although your knee be low.
My gracious lord, I come but for mine own.
Your own is yours, and I am yours, and all.
So far be mine, my most redoubted lord, as my true service shall deserve your love.
Cousin, I am too young to be your father, though you are old enough to be my heir. What you will have, I'll give, and willing too, for do we must what force will have us do. Set on toward London, cousin, is it so?
Yes, my lord.
Then I must not say no.
Call forth Bagot. Now, Bagot, freely speak thy mind. What thou dost know of noble Gloucester's death, who wrought it, with the king, and who performed the bloody offense of his timeless end.
And set before my face the Lord AUMERLE.
Cousin, stand forth and look upon that man.
My lord or ma'am, I know your daring tongue scorns to unsay what once it hath delivered. In that dread time when Gloucester's death was plotted, I heard you say that you had rather refuse the offer of 100,000 crowns than Bolingbroke's death, or Bolingbroke's return to England, adding withal how blessed this land would be in this, your cousin's, death.
I say thou liest, and will maintain what thou hast said is false in thy heart blood, though being all too base to stain the temper of my knightly sword.
Bagot, forbear. Thou shalt not take it up.
Excepting one, I would he were the best in all this presence that hath moved me so.
AUMERLE, thou liest. His honor is as true in this appeal as thou art all unjust. And that thou art so, there I throw my gage. To prove it on thee to the extremest point of mortal breathing. Seize it, if thou darest.
These differences shall all rest under gage. Till Norfolk be repealed, when he's returned against AUMERLE, we will enforce his trial.
That honorable day shall ne'er be seen. Many a time hath banished Norfolk fought for Jesu Christ in glorious Christian field, and toiled with works of war, retired himself to Italy, and there at Venice gave his body to that pleasant country's earth, and his pure soul unto his captain Christ, under whose colours he had fought so long.
Why? Bishop, is Norfolk dead?
As surely as I live, my lord.
Your differences shall all rest under gage till we assign you to your days of trial.
Great Duke of Lancaster, I come to thee from plume-plucked Richard, who with willing soul adopts the heir, and his high sceptre yields to the possession of thy royal hand. Ascend his throne, descending now from him, and long live Henry, the fourth of that name.
In God's name, I'll ascend the regal throne.
Oh, marry, heaven forbid! Worst in this royal presence may I speak, yet best beseeming me to speak the truth. Would God that any in this noble presence were enough noble to be upright judge of noble Richard, then true nobleness would learn him forbearance for so foul a wrong. What subject can give sentence on his king? And who sits here that is not Richard's subject? Thieves are not judged, but they are by to hear, although apparent guilt in them be seen. And shall the figure of God's majesty, anointed, crowned, planted many years, be judged by subject and inferior breath, and he himself not present? Oh, forbid it, God, that in a Christian climate, souls refined should show so heinous, black, obscene a deed. I speak to subjects, and a subject speaks, stirred up by heaven, thus boldly for his king. My lord of Hereford here, whom you call king, is a foul traitor to proud Hereford's king. And if you crown him, let me prophesy, the blood of English shall manure the ground, and future ages groan for his foul act. Disorder, horror, fear, and mutiny shall here inhabit. Oh, against this house it will the woefulest division prove that ever fell upon this cursed earth. Prevent it, resist it, and let it not be so, lest child's children cry against you woe.
Well have you argued, sir, and for your pains of capital treason we arrest you here. My lord of Westminster, be it your charge to keep him safely till his day of trial. May it please you, lords, to grant the common suit.
Fetch hither Richard, that in common view he may surrender.
I will be his conduct.
Lords, you that here are under our arms, you that here are under our arrest, procure your sureties for your days of answer. Little are we beholding to your love, and little looked for at your helping hands.
Alack, why am I sent for to a king before I have shook off the regal thoughts wherewith I reigned? Yet I well remember the favours of these men, Were they not mine? Did they not sometimes cry, "All hail to me"? God save the king! Will no man say amen? Am I both priest and clerk? Well then, amen. God save the king, although I be not he. And yet, amen, if heaven do think him me. To what service am I sent for hither?
To do that office of thine own goodwill, the resignation of thy state and crown to Henry Bolingbroke.
Give me the crown. Here, cousin, seize the crown. Here, cousin. On this side my hand, on that side thine. Now is this golden crown like a deep well that owes two buckets filling one another, the emptier ever dancing in the air, the other down, unseen and full of water.
I thought you had been willing to resign.
My crown I am, but still my griefs are mine. You may my glories and my state depose, but not my griefs. Still am I king of those.
Are you contented to resign the crown?
No. No, I. For I must nothing be. Therefore, no. For I resign to thee. All pomp and majesty I do forswear, make me that nothing have with nothing grieved, and thou with all pleased that hast all achieved. God save King Harry, unkinged Richard says, and send him many years of sunshine days. What more remains?
No more but that you read these accusations and these grievous crimes committed by your person and your followers.
Mine eyes are full of tears, I cannot see. And yet salt water blinds them not so much that they can see a sort of traitors here.
My lord!
No lord of thine, thou haut insulting man, nor no man's lord. I have no name, no title. No, not that name that was given me at the font, but 'tis usurped. Or like the heavy day that I have worn so many winters out, and know not now what name to call myself. Good king, great king, and yet not greatly good. And if my word be sterling yet in England, let it command a mirror hither straight, that it may show me what a face I have, since it is bankrupt of his majesty.
Go, some of you, and fetch a looking glass.
Read o'er this paper while the glass doth come.
Fiend, thou torment'st me ere I come to hell.
Urge it no more, my lord Northumberland.
The commons will not then be satisfied.
They shall be satisfied. I'll read enough when I do see the very book indeed where all my sins are writ, and that's myself. Give me the glass. Therein will I read. Oh, no wrinkles deeper yet. Was this the face that, like the sun, was this the face that, like the sun, did make beholders wink? Was this the face that faced so many follies, and was at last outfaced by Bolingbroke? A brittle glory shineth in his face, as brittle as the glory is the face. For there it is, cracked in 100 shivers. Mark, silent king, the moral of this sport, how soon my sorrow hath destroyed my face.
The shadow of your sorrow hath destroyed the shadow of your face.
Oh, I thank thee, king, for thy great bounty, that not only givest me cause to wail, but teaches me the way how to lament the cause. I'll beg thee one boon, and then be gone and trouble you no more. Shall I obtain it?
Name it, fair cousin.
Fair cousin. I am greater than a king, for when I was a king, my flatterers were then but subjects. Being now a subject, I have a king here to be my flatterer. Well, being so great, I have no need to beg.
Yet ask.
And shall I have?
You shall.
Then give me leave to go.
Whither?
whither you will, so I were from your sights.
Go. Some of you convey him to the tower.
Oh, good. Convey. Conveyors are you all, that rise thus nimbly by a true king's fall.
On Wednesday next, we solemnly set down our coronation. Lords, prepare yourselves.
A woeful pageant have we here beheld.
The woes to come, the children yet unborn, shall feel this day as sharp to them as thorn.
You, holy clergyman, is there no plot to rid the realm of this pernicious blot?
My lord, before I freely speak my mind herein, you shall not only take the sacrament to bury mine intents, but also to effect whatever I shall happen to devise. I see your brow is full of discontent, your heart of sorrow, and your eyes of tears. Come home with me to supper, and I'll lay a plot shall show us all a merry day.
This way the king will come. This is the way to whose flint bosom my contemned lord is doomed a prisoner by proud Bolingbroke. Oh, but soft, but see, or rather do not see, my fair rose wither. Thou most beauteous inn, why should hard-favoured grief be lodged in thee when triumph is become an alehouse guest?
Not with grief, fair woman, do not so, to make my end too sudden. Learn, good soul, to think our former state a happy dream, from which awaked the truth of what we are shows us but this. I am sworn brother, sweet, to grim necessity. Hie thee to France, and cloister thee in some religious house.
Hath Bolingbroke deposed thine intellect? Hath he been in thy heart? The lion dying thrusteth forth his paw and wounds the earth, and wilt thou, pupil-like, take thy correction mildly? Kiss the rod and fawn on rage with base humility, which art a lion and a king of beasts?
Yeah, king of beasts. Indeed, if aught but beasts, I had been still a happy king of men. Good sometime queen, prepare thee hence for France. In winter's tedious nights, sit by the fire with good old folks and let them tell thee tales of woeful ages long ago betid, and ere thou bid good night, to quit their griefs, tell thou the lamentable tale of me, and send the hearers weeping to their beds.
My lord, the mind of Bolingbroke is changed. You must to Pomfret, not into the tower. And, madam, there is order taken for you. With all swift speed, you must away to France.
Northumberland, thou ladder withal, the mounting Bolingbroke ascends my throne. And he shall think thou, which knowest the way to plant unrightful kings, will know it again, being ne'er so little urged another way to pluck him headlong from the usurped throne.
Must we be divided? Must we part?
Aye, hand from hand, my love, and heart from heart.
Then whither he goes, thither let me go.
So too, together weeping, make one woe. Weep thou for me in France, I for thee here. Better far off than near, be ne'er thee near. Go, count thy way with sighs, I mine with groans.
So longest way shall have the longest moans.
One kiss shall stop our mouth, and dumbly part. Thus give I mine, and thus I take thy heart.
Give me mine own again. 'Twere no good part to take on me to keep and kill thy heart. So now I have mine own again. Be gone, that I might strive to kill it with a groan.
We make woe wanton with this fond delay. Once more adieu. The rest let sorrow say.
Then, as I said, the Duke, great Bolingbroke, mounted upon a hot and fiery steed, whilst all tongues cried, God save thee, Bolingbroke! Jesu preserve thee! Welcome, Bolingbroke! Whilst he, from one side to the other turning, bareheaded, lower than his proud steed's neck, bespake them thus, I thank you, countrymen.
Ack, poor Richard.
With much more contempt, men's eyes did scowl on gentle Richard. No man cried, God save him, but dust was thrown upon his sacred head, which with such gentle sorrow he shook off. But heaven hath a hand in these events, to whose high will we bound our calm contents. To Bolingbroke are we sworn subjects now, whose state and honour eye for eye allow.
Here comes my son O'Merle.
O'Merle that was, but that is lost for being Richard's friend. And madam, you must call him Rutland now.
Welcome, my son. Who are the violets now that strew the green lap of the new-come spring?
Madam, I know not, nor I greatly care not.
Well, bear you well in this new spring of time, lest you be cropped before you come to prime. What seal is that hangs without thy bosom? Yea, look'st thou pale? Let me see the writing.
My lord, 'tis nothing.
No matter then who sees it. I will be satisfied. Let me see it, I say. Treason. Foul treason. Villain, traitor, slave.
What is the matter, my lord?
Who is within there? Saddle my horse. God for his mercy, what treachery is here?
What is it, my lord?
Give me my boots, I say, saddle my horse. Now by my honor, by my life, by my troth, I will impeach the villain.
What is the matter?
Good mother, be content. It is no more than my poor life must answer.
Why, York, what wilt thou do? Wilt thou not hide the trespass of thine own? Have we more sons, or are we like to have?
Fond mad woman, wilt thou conceal this dark conspiracy? A dozen of them have here ta'en the sacrament and interchangeably set down their hands to kill the king at Oxford.
He shall be none. We'll keep him here. Then what is that to him?
Away, fond woman. Were he 20 times my son, I would impeach him.
Hadst thou groaned for him as I have done, thou wouldst be more pitiful. He is as like thee as a man may be, not like me or any of my kin, and yet I love him.
Make way, unruly woman.
After O'Merle, mount thee upon his horse, spur post, and get before him to the king, and beg thy pardon ere he do accuse thee. I'll not be long behind. Away, be gone.
Can no man tell me of my unthrifty son? 'Tis 3 full months since I did see him last. If any plague hang over us, 'tis he. I would to God, my lords, he be found. Inquire at London amongst the taverns there. For there they say he doth daily frequent with unrestrained loose companions, which he, young wanton and effeminate boy, take on the point of honor to support so desolate a crew.
My lord, some 2 days since I saw the prince and told him of those triumphs held at Oxford.
And what said the gallant?
His answer was, he could unto the stews, and from the commonest creature pluck a glove, and wear it as a favour. And with that he would unhorse the lustiest challenger.
As dissolute as desperate. But who comes here?
Where is the king?
What means our cousin that he stares and looks so wildly?
God save your grace. I do beseech your majesty to have some conference with your grace alone.
Withdraw yourselves and leave us here alone. What is the matter with our cousin now?
Forever may my knees grow to the earth, my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth, unless a pardon ere I rise or speak.
Intended or committed was this fault? If on the first, how heinous ere it be, to win thy afterlove, I pardon thee.
And give me leave that I may turn the key, that no man enter till my tale be done.
Have thy desire.
My liege, beware! Look to thyself, thou hast a traitor in thy presence there.
Villain, I'll make thee safe.
Stay thy vengeful hand, thou hast no cause to fear.
Open the doors, secure, foolhardy king. Shall I for love speak treason to thy face? Open the door, or I will break it open.
What is the matter? Uncle, speak. Recover breath. Tell us how near is danger, that we may arm us to encounter it.
Peruse this writing here, and thou shalt know. the treason that my haste forbids me show.
Remember, as thou readst thou, thy promise past I do repeat, repent me, read not my name there, my heart is not confederate with my hand.
It was, villain, ere thy hand did set it down. I tore it from the traitor's bosom, king. Fear and not love begets his penitence.
O loyal father of a treacherous son, thy overflow of good comforts to bad, and thy abundant goodness shall excuse this deadly blot in thy digressing son.
Mine honor lives when his dishonor dies, or my shamed life in his dishonor lies. Thou kill'st me in his life, giving him breath. The traitor lives, the true man's put to death.
But ho, my liege, for God's sake, let me in.
What shrill voiced suppliant makes this eager cry?
A woman, and thy aunt, great king, 'tis I. Speak with me, pity me, open the door. A beggar begs that never begged before.
My dangerous cousin, let your mother in. I know she has come to pray for your foul sin.
O king, believe not this hard-hearted man.
How frantic woman! What dost thou make here?
Sweet York, be patient. Hear me, gentle liege.
Rise up, good aunt.
Not yet. I thee beseech, forever will I walk upon my knees and never see day that the happy sees, till thou give joy, until thou bid me joy by pardoning Rutland, my transgressing boy.
Unto my mother's prayers I bend my knee.
Against them both my true joints bended be.
Pleads he in earnest? Look upon his face, his weary joints would gladly rise, I know. Our knees shall kneel till the ground they grow.
Good aunt, stand up.
Nay, do not say stand up, say
pardon first, and afterwards stand up. I never longed to hear a word till now. Say pardon, king. Let pity teach thee how.
Good aunt, stand up.
I do not sue to stand. Pardon is all the suit I have in hand.
I pardon him. As God shall pardon me with all my heart, I pardon him.
Oh God on earth thou art.
But for our trusty brother-in-law and the abbot, with all the rest of that consorted crew, destruction straight shall dog them at their heels. Good uncle, help to order several powers to Oxford, and where these traitors are, they shall not live within this world, I swear. Have I no friend to rid me of this living fear? Uncle, farewell. And cousin too, adieu. Your mother well hath prayed, and prove you true.
Come, my old son, I pray God make thee new.
Didst thou not mark the king, what words he spake? Have I no friend will rid me of this living fear? And speaking it, he wistly looked on me as who should say, I would thou wert the man that would divorce this terror from my heart, meaning the king at Pomfret. Well, I'll go. I am the king's friend, and will rid his foe.
I've been studying how I may compare this prison where I live unto the world. And for because the world is populous, and here is not a creature but myself, I cannot do it. Yet I'll hammer it out. My brain I'll prove the female to my soul the father, and these two beget a generation of still breeding thoughts. And these same thoughts people this little world in humours like the people of this world, for no thought is contented. The better sort of thoughts of things divine. Thoughts tending to ambition, they do plot unlikely wonders, how these vain weak nails may tear a passage through the flinty ribs of this hard world, my ragged prison walls. And for because they cannot die in their own pride. thoughts tending to content, flatter themselves that they are not the first of fortune's slaves, nor shall not be the last, like silly beggars who, sitting in the stocks, refuge their shame that many have, and others must sit there. And in this thought they find a kind of ease, bearing their own misfortunes on the back of such as have before endured the like. Thus play I in one person, many people, and none contented. Sometimes am I a king, then treason makes me wish myself a beggar, and so I am. Then crushing penury persuades me I was better when I was a king. Then am I kinged again, and by think that I am unkinged by Bolingbroke, and straight am nothing. But whate'er I be, nor I nor any man that but man is, with nothing shall be pleased till he be eased with being nothing. Oh, music. Do I hear? Okay, keep time. How sour sweet music is when time is broken, no proportion kept. So it is in the music of men's lives. And here have I the daintiness of ear to check time broke in a disordered string. I wasted time. Now time doth waste me. For now hath time made me his numbering clock. My thoughts are minutes, and with sighs they jar their watches on unto mine eyes. My time runs posting on in Bolingbroke's proud joy. For this music mads me, let it sound no more! Though it have holp madmen to their wits, in me it seems it will make wise men mad. Yet blessing on his heart that gives it me, it is a sign of love. And love to Richard is a strange brooch in this all-hating world.
My lord, will it please you to fall to?
Taste it first, as thou art wont to do.
My lord, I dare not. The Duke AUMERLE, who lately came from the king, commands the contrary.
The devil take Henry Lancaster and thee! Patience is stale. I'm weary of it!
Help! 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 Help!
No. What means death in this rude assault? Villain! Thine own hands yield thy death's instrument. Go thou and fill another room in hell! That hand that burned thee in ever-quenching shame, fire that staggers my person thus. AUMERLE, thy fierce hand hath with the king's blood stained the king's own land. Mount, my soul. Thy seat is up on high, whilst my gross flesh sinks downward here to die.
As full of valor as of royal blood, both have I spilled. Oh, would the deed were good. For now the devil that told me I did well says this deed is chronicled in hell. This dead king to the living king I'll bear. Take hence the rest, and give them burial here.
Kind Uncle York, the latest news we hear is that the rebels have consumed with fire our town of Sister in Gloucestershire. But whether they be taken or slain, we hear not. Welcome, my lord. What is the news?
Oh, I have to London sent the heads of Oxford, Salisbury, Blunt, and Kent.
We thank thee, gentle Percy, for thy pains.
The grand conspirator, abbot of Westminster, with clog of conscience and sour melancholy, hath yielded up his body to the grave. But here is Carlisle living, to abide thy kingly doom and sentence of his pride.
Carlisle, this is your doom. Choose out some secret place, some reverend room, more than thou hast, and with it, joy thy life. So as thou livest in peace, die free from strife, For though mine enemy thou hast ever been, high sparks of honor in thee have I seen.
Great king, within this coffin I present thy buried fear. Herein all breathless lies the mightiest of thy greatest enemies, Richard of Bordeaux, by me hither brought.
Exton, I thank thee not, for thou hast wrought a deed of slander with thy fatal hand upon my head, and all this famous land.
From your own mouth, my lord, I did this deed.
Ah! They love not poison that do poison need, nor do I thee. Though I did wish him dead, I hate the murderer. Love him murdered. The guilt of conscience take thou for thy labor, but neither my good word nor princely favor. With Cain, go! Wander through shades of night and never show thy head by day or light. Lords, I protest, my soul is full of woe, that blood should sprinkle me to make me grow. I'll make voyage to the Holy Land, to wash this blood off from my guilty hand, march. Sadly after, grace my mornings here, in weeping after this untimely bier.
Hello, everybody. Congrats, y'all. Welcome to the post-show Q&A. We will kick it right off. We've got, for those of you joining us for the first time, we do 3 questions at the end of each Q&A that are standard. We'll get 90-ish seconds to the cast. Quick pause to say bravo again, cast. Y'all were amazing. And then we'll kick it to the YouTube for some responses to those questions, one at a time. And then at that point, we'll do 2 questions from the YouTube. So if you have questions for the group, pop them in the chat at this time or anytime during the Q&A. If you are enjoying this, please let your friends know what's happening and come join us Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. BST, other times wherever you are. But we'll kick it off with the Q&A. So the first question, standard Q for the group is, what did you learn about the play that you didn't know before today? I suppose that includes yesterday as well. What did you learn about the play that you didn't know before today?
I think today I heard for the first time how intertwined all of these, how familiarly intertwined all of the major players here are. I think today was the first time I heard all of the cousins, uncles, etc., etc. Like it's family feuding on a national scale for all intents and purposes. And I think that was the first time I really heard all of that.
Anybody else?
great sense of not quite picked up on as much of just how much people are being dragged away, like forcibly dragged away from what they understand, what they know, what life is meant to be like. Whether it be being put into prison, whether it be being told you're not going to be able to get what you want now. That turmoil, that family turmoil that that you were talking about, explodes even more into someone's own individual lack of ability to find anything to hold on to anymore because everything's so unsure.
Cool. Monty, do we have anything in the YouTube?
Well, we have a lot of love for your mustache, Dan. And so I'll say with that, I learned that Bushy was named after his facial hair, which is, I think, a really important thing to understand about this play.
Great.
There was also, during the run, there was a call out of the foreshadowing of Hal, which really did pop out today. And what was interesting was Hotspur saying that he spoke with Hal, which I'd never heard that bit before.
Perfect segue to the second question. What bits jumped out at you today that you haven't heard before? What word, image, phrase from the play jumped out at you either in a new way or just jumped out at you today?
I heard from Gaunt, England that was wont to conquer others hath made a shameful conquest of itself. And I guess in the political time that we're in, outside of the other time that we're in, England is a strange place.
Yeah, going off of that, I would say, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just going off of that, I've never heard the whole of the England realm speech all together. And I was really surprised when we did it yesterday, because I don't know this play very well. I was really surprised when we did it yesterday that it has nothing at all to do with how beautiful England is and, you know, glorious and roses and things like that. Although to a certain extent, obviously it does, because he's talking about the glory of England. But the fact that it's being leased and that it's being, you know, sort of rented out and that sort of thing, I didn't know any of that. And it was really shocking. And also, it also put me in mind of, you know, the kinds of feelings that are generated for us when people who are outside our borders, if you will, come in and buy companies that are supposed to be American companies, or they come in and they move in, and suddenly you're going, well, is this the same land? Or what does that really mean? Are we, maybe that's what a global society is supposed to mean. I'm sorry, I'm probably jumping to the next question as well, but that's what really stood out for me today.
Can I pick up from that? The phrase that stood out for me today, again, I was reminded of it, was "uncle me no uncle." I mean, that verbing a noun that Shakespeare did, and just that moment where you stop, and again, it pulls it back to what somebody said before about this is families within families within families on a national level. You know, that was something that stood out for me today.
Yeah, in that way, I think it's also an example of like how much of the dialogue in all of the plays, but in this one a lot, is like I'm springboarding off what you've just said, something you've just said, like that whole in the base court, come down, down, down. That's just different ways of spinning round the four words that Northumberland's just said to use against him.
Yeah.
Lords, I protest, my soul is full of woe, that blood should sprinkle me to make me grow, really jumped out at me tonight. That like, this is what crowns and kingdoms are built on, or this is what they are sustained by, not not water that gives life, but blood in a quite literal sense.
Staying on blood from the YouTube, our viewers kicked us off with our surgeons say this is no month to bleed. Also, the regrets around time. Call back yesterday, bid time return. I wasted time, and now doth time waste me. Also, I live with bread like you, feel want, taste grief, need friends.
That really sung to me tonight, that line. That really pinged out with everything going on with people from in all kinds of places right now being brought into a situation where they're having to experience, by having their jobs taken away from them, for example, experience a world where they're not the most powerful anymore. They're suddenly kind of hanging out with a lot of the rest of us. And that discussion is happening loads at the minute. People claiming unemployment benefits who've never claimed it before. It's that just particularly, you just mentioned it, that line sung to me a lot tonight.
Yeah, I'll second that, especially in terms of this project, the rapidity of these plays coming so quickly after Merchant of Venice. That line really resonated with some passages from Merchant. I digress. Bring us to the third question for the group. Why does this play matter to you today, if it does, or why doesn't it if it doesn't?
I think in this play, we see a lot of people acting expediently. You don't hear much about, how wonderful Bolingbroke would be, and that's why we ought to be with him. Or you don't even really get a very clear sense of what's wrong with Richard as much as one might. But people take sides, according to what's expedient for them. And I think that's something we see in our current situation, people supporting those who they may not think very highly of, but think they can get along on their coattails. And I think that's very present in this piece.
I think in addition to being expedient, or maybe in conjunction with it, they're so reactive. And a sway of emotion is enough to, totally alter, an exile, or to, decide to treat or punish someone entirely differently. And Richard is and he's swayed so much by emotion and by the way he feels about his perceptions of the people around him and what they think about him. And it's just so intense to see that, yes, politics is logistical, but I think deeper than that, and at the forefront of all of that is just, well, what does it feel like right now? And he's driven so much by that oppression complex that, he's Christ and everyone's a Judas turning on him. And out of that, he can only see himself as victim and doesn't realize, all these other people who are being dragged down, or doesn't think of the people as, the land being, becoming victim.
Right, to tell sad stories of the death of kings, not the death of all the soldiers, not the death of the common people.
I mean, we see this time and time again in a lot of these plays that have to do with dueling monarchs and lords. They don't get sad over the death of the common people. They get sad over the people that they consider to be their equals. This reminds me of when we did Antony and Cleopatra. The only time you see Octavius Caesar show any kind of emotion is when he finds out that Mark Antony is dead. It's not about it. It's not about any of the soldiers that are fighting for either of them. It's only the people that they consider to be on their level. That's the only time that they ever really consider the weight of all that they're doing and what it actually costs in terms of human lives.
One of the
feel
lines.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I feel like this play is one of Shakespeare's, not his first grade, but one of his first great shifts from being primarily a poet to being a great writer of rhetoric, in that, using our words to get people to do what we want. This play shines in that, I think. And I think living in an age where I think we've stopped teaching rhetoric as the base of kind of education, which would have been common for him and for most of the world up until recent history. it's interesting to look around at a world that words don't really mean anything anymore. But in reality, rhetoric and our ability to spin words mean everything now. And I think it's interesting to look at a play that is just such a great example of how we coin phrases to manipulate people. That I think we're losing our ability. Lots of us are losing our ability to recognize that, and then hence are falling into manipulation lots of times.
And right on that point from the YouTube chat, we have, why does it matter? This play gets us thinking a lot about how power is achieved and the regret caused by the means, and whether we are right to leave that behind. And then another thought, kind of not just about this play, but that a lot of Shakespeare plays seem to mirror current times. This viewer has noticed. And another observation, it's interesting that Richard, during the trial, was concerned with his physical appearance and how much a toll the stress of the situation had taken on his face. And we do have a couple of questions. So I think the first one in was, what did Shakespeare mean by the lovely alliterative caterpillars of the Commonwealth? Any thoughts on that? What did Shakespeare mean by caterpillars of the Commonwealth?
I think it's an indictment of politicians in general. Not any one politician, but that sense of they'll show you one thing, but they'll be something else. I don't know. I just took it to mean, like, in the usage in the moment, it feels like they were there for what they needed to be there for, as caterpillars, and when the time comes, they will. Dylan, you're much better with butterfly. What's the thing they break out of? A cocoon, but it's called something much more interesting.
Chrysalis.
Chrysalis. Right?
So
Is that the image?
Yeah, I'm going to say, Dan, that I get with you on that. Except I don't see politicians breaking out of a chrysalis and becoming butterflies.
No, I agree with that.
I think the caterpillar image on the Commonwealth is the way caterpillars must eat. They eat away at the leaves, and they leave them holy and fragile and unable to really support themselves to be able to get the nourishment that they need from the sun, because they've eaten away the leaf. So, huge portions of a tree die because of caterpillars.
And YouTube is on Deb's side in this argument. Surprise, surprise. YouTube is always on Deb's side because YouTube is smart.
I'll present a third argument to that, which is I thought that they were talking about the mustaches. Caterpillars.
That was where the artistic choice came from. Really wanted to highlight that most important central metaphor. But we have some thoughts that politicians eat the leaves and despoil the trees of state. And another thought, similar but a little bit different, that worms eat roses, foreshadowing.
Oh.
And our final question from the YouTube chat, some of our history buffs in the Zoom will probably be able to answer this one. How much did Shakespeare write to the pleasure of his current monarchy? So how much of these history plays is because of Shakespeare writing to please whoever held the power in that moment?
Well, this is, yeah.
No, go for it.
No, I mean this is the start of the Tudor dynasty, right? I mean this is where we're going to get into what becomes the queen who is on the throne at the moment when he's writing this thing. So we've got to get through the histories first to get to the Tudors, and this is what we're working towards. So it's kind of like this is where you came from, Dal. That's why you're on the throne.
It's a populist saga.
Yeah.
I was watching something today actually about the concept of patronage within theatre, and obviously at this time in theatre's history, you had to be patronized by usually a member of the aristocracy or a member of the royal family. So you're entirely not entirely a mouthpiece for them, but you've got to in some way flatter and help that direction where the money's coming from, where the success of your theatre is run from, and your money is. And it's not until much later in the 1700s where that freedom starts to open up again.
Well, I would add to that, it's like this is actually the point in time when the power of the nobility is actually decreasing, and the new power of the businessman is rising. The power of the common man is rising. So the one is trying to hold on to the past and see it as some kind of Arcadia. That's this is what we strive for. We strive to keep our landed gentry in their palaces and big houses, and yet at the same time you've got Thomas Gresham building his brand new shopping mall in the middle of London, basically. So it's like and you've got the just businesses opening up all worldwide at that same point, and that's what's going to take over. I mean, that's what's going to lead to the downfall of Charles I. This populist uprising that's starting to happen, and the downfall of the nobility is happening just at this point. This decade, the 1590s, is the decade when Earl of Oxford hasn't got a penny to his name at this point. He's granted 1,000 quid every year by Queen Elizabeth because he is one of the oldest earls. That's it. So and everybody else it's this seeming idea that they're holding on to, because King James, he comes in and he just starts making knights left, right, and center because they give him money, and he can live his lifestyle like he wants to, very much like Richard II, in fact, with his own baguette bushes and greens.
Speaking of like Richard II, we'll end this with a thought from the YouTube from Chris Rockwood, who says that Elizabeth felt a connection with Richard II, and she even said, "I am Richard II, know ye not that?" That's right, to William Lambard. Yeah. So on that, we'll end the Q&A for today, but please, you can pop on over to Patreon, patreon.com/Shakespeare Happy Hours. Join us at the well or the top shelf level, and you can join us in a little company pub. My glass is empty, so I got to leave this YouTube and go fill this glass. Thank you so much for watching. Please do click the like button, subscribe button. We'll be back here on Friday with Henry IV, Part 1. And the actors who you've seen tonight will be continuing. If there are characters that continue through the history plays, you'll get to see them continuing through that journey. So hope we'll see you back here on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 BST. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.